I feel like every actor's journey is a marathon, and just do you. When you try to be other people, that's where you can trip yourself up.
Jimmy Akingbola is a versatile and celebrated actor born in the UK to Nigerian parents. Jimmy has built an impressive career, becoming a recognised figure in the entertainment industry. Jimmy is best known for his portrayal of Jeffrey in Bel Air, as well as a long list of credits, including Arrow, The Tower, Most Dangerous Game, Ted Lasso, Benidorm, This Is Gonna Hurt, In the Long Run, and the panel show Sorry I Didn't Know, amongst many others. Beyond acting, his documentary, Handle With Care, has gained him critical acclaim, and Jimmy has made a significant contribution to the arts through his philanthropic efforts. He founded the Triforce Creative Network, a platform dedicated to discovering and promoting diverse talent, and the popular Monologue Slam. With a career defined by passion, versatility, and purpose, Jimmy Akingbola continues to inspire audiences on and off the screen, and us too. Welcome, Jimmy.
Go to friends' weddings, birthdays, find out what makes you happy and what brings you fun outside of acting.
Jimmy, welcome to the Audition show.
Oh, what's going on, Dal?
I'm good, thank you. Rich is here as well, over there.
Thanks for having me on. Likewise. Listen, it's an honor to be on the show, and I love all the other interviews that you've done, and a lot of them are my friends as well. And yeah, very inspiring and informative.
That's really good. So I have a question. When you were younger and were starting out in acting,
okay,
did you ever think of the time when you quote unquote make it, and have you made it?
Oh, wow. We're jumping straight in. I think when I was younger, I used to think about when I make it. Yes. Like I would say sort of 19 to 25. I think I realized it always changed. Do you know what I'm saying? It almost like my version of making it at first was just being able to have a living off of the thing that I love to do, which is acting. And then I think my ambition, Rich, and my goals kept expanding. Then it was like, all right, I've been doing theater for 3 years, nonstop, 3 or 4 plays a year. I want to do TV. Then I get TV, and it's like, all right, I want to do film. And then it's like, actually, it's about the kind of role. I didn't want to keep playing thug number 2, or you know what I mean? Or I love comedy, but I also do drama. So I didn't want to get stuck just doing comedy. And I think the answer to the other part of your question, have I made it? I think half of me says yes, and another half says no. Let me break that down. Half of me that says yes is the half that I go back to how I started. I'm doing something I love, and I don't do anything else to live my life and pay my bills. And that's a rare thing in this business, And it's still not always been like that. I used to ride mopeds, delivering pizzas around Knightsbridge. I've done call centers. I was an usher. So I've done those other jobs like other actors do. But then I think after about, 6-7 years, I sort of forced myself not to do those jobs anymore, to see if I could sustain myself just by acting, which was quite scary, but I think it made me have to up my game and really look at what work ethic looks like when you prepare for auditions and how you apply yourself when you get a job. And I think the other part of me that says I don't think I've made it is that, I'm between LA and London now, and I think what America does, it opens up the world. You become an international artist and actor, and I just feel like the mountain's so much bigger. There's so many more things I can do now. I'm on the mountain of like international, when I think of international ambition, creating shows. Yes, being on a show like Bel Air, but thinking about what is the next job after that? What does that look like?
Well, the goalposts change, don't they? That's the thing, is whatever our definition of making it. I'm really interested in the bit you said about the day when, or the moment when you started to make money as an actor, because my personal definition of professional has always been that someone pays you to do it. And so you can have a professional mindset as an actor. You can like to do things in a professional way, but the day you become professional is the day you get paid in many, many jobs.
Oof, yeah.
And then, So sustaining yourself as only an actor without a side job, and not that a side job is bad or that it's not necessary. And some people's side jobs, like I know for me personally, my side job has always been business, and I love it. And I'm not going to stop doing business no matter how successful I get as an actor.
Yeah.
But having your career being sustainable as an actor, that's got to feel good. And that's got to have felt like making it before you moved the goalpost again, right? I
think you're right. Yeah. I think just give people a bit of background for me is that I was in foster care as a kid. And when you reach like 15, 16, you sort of, in the UK, foster care, you're, I suppose, part of the government, I wasn't adopted, I was fostered. And so you got offered $2,000 as you were becoming like 16, 17 and becoming an adult, or you got offered a council flat. So, my foster family raised me well. They're like, we love you. You don't have to go, but you're going to take the flat, aren't you? I was like, of course. So I'm a council flat kid.
It's a flat to live in, or they give you
a flat to live in.
To own?
To live in,
right?
To rent. But being 16, 17, you get benefits. So your rent's low. And then you hit 18 and you're paying full rent. But the full rent in a council flat is much cheaper, than your everyday rent of like London, and as it would be in LA or New York, there would be like a cheaper version of that. And so what would happen now is that theatre, I'd earn like £300 a week when I'd work. So I would save it all, right? And then when I wouldn't work, sometimes I would just pray and just trust that I'm going to get a job and it would happen. And sometimes I would have to go and get a job in between. And sometimes it got so bad that I'd have to sign on for benefits. And I say that I'm not ashamed of that, but that was just the reality of it. And so I was able to budget £300 a week for 8 weeks. How much do I save with that? I give a percentage to the agent. How much goes to my rent and my bills? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was the way that I used to work it. But then when I started getting a little bit more known, I realized that the gaps become a little bit shorter, but also I didn't want to rely on benefits. Do you know what I mean? Even though I'm paying my taxes and I'm entitled to it. So, and also I couldn't go into the betting shop, the dole office, because people would be like, wasn't you on the bill last week? What are you doing here?
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So suddenly I was like, I don't really want to do it. It's quite hard to explain why I'm here. And actually, what is the root of the issue here, Jimmy? The root of the issue is let's face the fear. The fear is, will I ever get another job or work again? If I remove that fear and say, in almost a naive way, I'm always going to work, but it requires me to do the work, double down on preparation, do my best auditions. Not that I wasn't doing it before, but the stakes are much higher, right? Because I've got to pay my bills. And then once I did that in terms of mentally, I'm not lying, Dal, I remember the moment where I just suddenly was able to support myself purely on acting. And when I say acting, everybody, I'm talking about in the UK, you would be able to get by on readings, like play readings, radio, then it would be theatre, short films, couple of episodes of TV. And then as you build up, you start becoming, regulars or semi-recurring on shows, and that helps you to sustain yourself.
But it's hard because those jobs in England, they're still not paying very much.
No, but my bills were low, right?
You've got to audition as well. You've got to be auditioning, and that doesn't pay any. So that you're working, but not getting paid when you're auditioning, right? It's
true. And yet, Rich, I think for me, I loved the opportunity to audition. I didn't see it like work. I've never seen acting like work. You know what I mean? It started off as fun. And actually when I started working in America, when I had my down moments, I had to remember about the fun, because the fun brings out my creativity and helps me to book my work. When I'm just going in and in the rooms or doing self-tapes and just being my fun self, whether it's drama or comedy, they're the best moments for me that my best work comes out, So, and actually, I always advise other actors to do other jobs and whatnot, but I'm like, if there's a version where I was able to create a system that I allowed myself the space and time to prepare for my auditions. I'm not one of those actors, you give me an audition on the spot or in an hour, I can do my best job. I have to prepare. So I was like, how do I stop myself from doing a 9 to 5 or, and allow myself the space and time to prepare for these few auditions that I was getting? Because when I started out, I wasn't getting an audition every week. So I said I had to prioritize my time so I can prepare and do my best audition.
What does your preparation look like for someone that's sitting there thinking, even if I have the time, I don't know how to fill that more with preparation? What's your process?
I think it's different for each job, but the main thing is, I've got to read the whole script. Right. I've got to read the whole script. If there's not the script, then I do research, I Google.
Because that often happens these days. You don't even get, I got a pilot audition the other day. I didn't even get the whole side. I got my paragraph.
Yeah, you're right.
NDA'd up to the hilt.
No, you're right. It's true. It's true. I suppose let me speak across the board for the way things are now, but also with theatre, normally get, because I like to talk about theatre a lot because I think TV's such the main thing right now, but people forget about theatre. I feel like if you can do theatre, you can do anything, and theatre can have a positive impact on your career in so many different ways. So read the script if it's there. If not, then I look at who's attached. I read up on all the producers, the writers and directors, and then you get a sense of their style and their tone. And then I think I make sure I'm completely off book. I know a lot of actors don't do that. They might read the lines and just audition like that. I can't do that. I need to be fully free with the character. And then I think from the information of Googling, if there's no script, I just got to try and use my imagination from what the sides are saying. And then I fully commit to my idea of how I see this character. And sometimes now it could be way left and be wrong. And then sometimes I'm bang on the money, but it doesn't matter. I'm not worrying about the outcome. What I'm worrying about is my fun and my creativity. What have I created with this character from learning these lines, and how do I want to deliver it? And when I do that, for those that are listening, sometimes I get a call back because I'm completely the wrong way, but they can see that I've committed and created this brilliant character, but it's completely wrong. So then I get some feedback going, look, tell him, because there's no full script. It's about this. The person actually is upset because he lost his wife 10 years ago. So don't make that moment funny. And then I get another go at it. Not all the time, but that sometimes does happen. And then sometimes I think I don't want to say that I'm on the money with it, but I'm doing enough within their wheelhouse where they're like, oh, this is interesting. I love his take on it. And so that's the way that I prepare. And I think you can't
you said you learn the lines first. Do you learn the lines and then prepare because that gives you flexibility, or do you learn it? I mean, how? I do it both.
I do it both. I might drill it 5-10 times, learn it and do it from paragraph to full stops. I don't learn half the line. I have to learn right to the end of the full stop, because that's our thoughts. I feel like each full stop is like a new thought. And then I do that a couple of times. I've roughly got it in, and then I step back a bit. And then I start Googling. And when I say Google and looking up people, you can look up a producer or a writer of The Boys. And it's not to say they're doing the same thing in this new show or film, but you can just get a sense of their work. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? And actually sometimes you can Google and you can hear about how they do podcasts like this.
Yeah, so they talk about some other interview that you see where they've attached a cast member. I always find that useful if I can visualize who the other person I'm talking to is, knowing that that's the person that's in the job. Yeah, that's really helpful, right?
Definitely. And sometimes you hear them speak. If you've got a Zoom where you got to speak to them, you're like, oh, I get a sense of their personality. Or sometimes these people, these gatekeepers and creatives, they talk about why they picked a person or what they like. And again, you got to be careful, because it's not trying to, I believe that sometimes we can try and morph ourselves and what do they want? What do they want? And that can affect your creativity in terms of your authentic self, or going, this is what I can do as an actor. But if you hear what they like, if they like grounded, truthful acting, and they like someone that doesn't put a button at the end of an audition that they just say the lines, then you don't do that. Because I'm a person, Darren does a lot of self-tapes with me. I'm always doing buttons, ad-lib, and he's like, Jim, you've just created another 5 minutes on top of that audition. I'm like, well, they don't need to listen to it, but I'm giving them more insight to what I think I can do with this character.
I remember us doing your Ted Lasso audition.
Yes.
And we just were improvising at the end of this.
Yeah.
And I remember us watching it and laughing so hard, and we're like, that's way beyond. But we said, let's send it in,
Let's
right?
send it in.
And you made that choice and you booked the role.
Booked the role.
And it was fun. It was a bit of silliness at the end, but it was a comedy and it worked.
Yeah, and it worked. And I kept a lot of what we did when I went on set. You know?
There you go.
Jason Sudeikis is one of those actors that he writes the script, but he does allow you, if you have the capabilities, to riff. And I'm a riffer. I love riffing. I started out in comedy. And so we would go back and forth, me and Darren on the self-tape. And I just continued that with Jason Sudeikis. And it was so much fun. And Jason Sudeikis loved it. And he responded to that. And we would do it in every scene. I did a...
I haven't seen any of my share of the residuals from that, Jimmy. I gotta be honest.
Sorry.
Let's just back up for a second.
Gosh. I need to find that tape now. I need to see if I've still got it. Because we had so much
Talking
fun.
about doing your research beforehand, when you were looking at the new Bel Air, were you looking at how it is? But the new one is completely different in tone to the original. So were you thrown off there? What happened there?
Richard, that's a really good question. My research with Bel Air worked like in this way. One, I was a fan. I grew up watching it, right? So two, also, if you guys remember, sometimes this stuff is like, it is like luck, you know, it's not all luck, but sometimes it is luck, and I call it God's business. That before I had auditioned for Bel Air, it was the Fresh Prince of Bel Air anniversary, right? And I don't know if you remember, they did the big documentary. I think it might have been on
and they got
HBO.
the original Aunt Viv
They brought all the Aunt Viv back. So, and we were sort of still in a pandemic place. So I remember just going on a deep dive and watching all the Bel Air shows again. This is before I got the audition, you know? So I just remember watching all of them and, you know, really remember my favorites. So when I auditioned, I was like, all I knew is like it was going to be like a modern take on it, and it's not a comedy. But I was able to just use everything from the original. Like, so Jeffrey did love the family. He was, you know, he was very kept together, like the suits, the three piece. My auditioned in a three piece. I was sweating in my audition because it was like a rare hot day in London, you know what I mean? But I was just able to use the way I research basically is just watching the episodes, because Fresh Prince of Bel Air is the same as Bel Air, but it's a comedy that they also told important stories. You had the episode where they got arrested in the car for being two young black guys driving a nice car. You know, you had the moment when Uncle Phil was saying, you think you're radical, but I walked with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. You know, you had all these moments. And so I was able I didn't have to do as much research. I just had to watch and embody the show, but then go, what does that look like now? My Jeffries, I on purposely didn't want him to sound as clipped and posh or like the original Jeffrey. I wanted to...
Who sounds like that in real life, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I remember being at your place and he called you up to say congratulations. I was like, wait, that's his real voice.
Yeah. Because Joseph Marcel, like, you know, he's from St. Lucia originally, but he's fully theater trained. And like, as actors, when you train and you go to like drama school and whatnot, there is a version where the business teaches you to sort of flat out your natural accent. You know, like as I'm speaking now, if you would have spoken to me at 18, 19 to 21, I had a thick East London accent. You know what I mean? Like, even like saying Thursday with a TH, I would say it with an F. And sometimes it will still happen. So Joseph is he's very eloquent and got a very, you know, like I say, a bit more of a received pronunciation, like a voice. And that does speak to like another way that I have research. I go, well, what's been done, Rich? So I feel like Joseph's version of Jeffrey really spoke to like black middle class, or in a different way, or a different part of London. I wanted my Jeffrey to also speak to middle class, but, you know, working and middle class, and be from East London, you know? And I remember seeing guys like Jeffrey growing up that, you know, you didn't quite know they had the nice Saab or the convertible Mercedes. And I was like, I'm not quite sure what they do. I think they own that nightclub. Are they good people? Are they bad people? But they would always speak to the young kids and like uplift them, encourage them to go to school and, you know what I mean? Like be good and whatnot. And I wanted to sort of embody that in my version of Jeffrey.
Yeah. Be like the person that the kids these days would look up to.
Yeah. Because I want to make a character that was relatable, to my version of young kids growing up. And the original Jeffrey was, but not as much as I feel as this Jeffrey. And also it's my job as an actor to try and have as much control in terms of the storytelling of like, how do I want to portray this character? I don't want to portray him as a stereotype of like, he's a street thug, and I don't want to make him like I don't know. I want to make him have many different layers, nuanced. He's street smart, book smart. He can be in the offices. He can be political with Uncle Phil. He could be a bit aggressive and handsy when he wants. He's a very fully rounded, intelligent black man, and that doesn't have to be he's always angry and fighting and turning a gun sideways. I was like, no, we're not doing that with this show. We're doing it we're really conscious of the culture and what representation looks like and black excellence looks like.
Really interesting. And the show's a hit.
Did you know Joseph before?
I did know Joseph Marcel before, Rich. I did a show, I think, us Brits, we're aware of it. It's called Death in Paradise. And
Yes.
It's a bit like, for those in the States or around the world that listen to this, because I know We Audition does cover the globe. It's a bit like an Agatha Christie show, but it's about this white British guy solving crimes with basically like a Jamaican police. And I played Joseph Marcel's, one of his sons, and he was my dad, and he owned an island in the Caribbean and basically was like a billionaire. And he ends up getting killed. And who ended up killing him? It was his son, because I wanted his money.
You just ruined the episode for us.
Oh, sorry.
That's one of those shows that anytime you know an actor that's been on that show, it's like a no-brainer. They're like, wait, you want me to fly somewhere called Paradise for like 2 weeks to film a show? I'm in.
That is it. And that's me and Joseph Marcel was on the beach together on a deck chair. And I was just like, we filmed probably 3-4 days of the 2 weeks, and all the other actors had to work every day. And I was like, Joseph, does this ever get boring to you? And he was like, no, dear boy. He was like, no, dear boy. And we were there about cocktails, and it was just such a beautiful moment. So to have a full circle moment to work with Joseph Marcel in season 3 of Bel Air, it was a dream come true, Rich. No, seriously, he's an icon.
He's making an appearance, right, in series 3.
Yeah.
Is that a spoiler? I don't know, but
no, it's not a spoiler. It's
amazing.
Out at the moment. Will Smith put it on his Instagram before the episode even, I think, finished when it got aired, and it got like 3-4 million sort of views and whatnot. Just the clip of Joseph appearing, but it's such a beautiful, iconic TV moment, because I forget how iconic Joseph Marcel is in US TV and Jeffrey is, because you don't have that many Brits on TV in America, like Jeffrey was.
There's always a token, isn't there? There was Jane Leeves in Frasier.
Okay, true.
I remember watching Frasier when I was younger, and with her northern accent, that giving me some hope.
Yeah.
Being like, no, we can go over there. We can do stuff as Brits.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking of Joseph at that time, Jane Leeves. There would always be one or two that you go, that's the career I want.
Definitely, you're right. And it's so funny, you talked about seeing yourself and it's possible. So I suppose when I said there's not that many Brits, I suppose there's, when I'm saying that in the back of my mind, there wasn't that many black Brits on US TV.
Right.
And so Joseph Marcel is probably the most famous black Brit on US television. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about Idris in the Wire because he's playing American, but in terms of like representing British culture, And so to have that iconic moment where the two Jeffreys are in the same scene together, it gave me goosebumps. I think even Joseph was a bit like very touched by it, of like, wow, this is happening. Do you know what I mean? This is a moment that we are experiencing together, and the whole set was just emotional and exciting, and the way that episode 6 and season 3 has gone down has been beautiful. And then like I had a couple of calls from friends like Amel Amin and Femi Oguns, who I know you've had on this, and they're like, this really sort of Jimmy, like, like this is legacy, like this is a part of history. And cause you're in it, I didn't really realize what they meant, but like.
This was recently or?
This is recently,
right.
yeah, because I think sometimes you can be in the middle of a job and like when people are watching it and people responding to it, you're not really grasping the impact. And I think Amel and Femi were just being really good friends, is forcing me to take in the moment, be present and really enjoy it and realize what's happening right now in terms of like, Bel Air is the Fresh Prince of right now. And it's a show for the people, for the culture. And everybody's, thank God, pardon me, everybody's enjoying it because it's a delicate piece of IP and it could have gone a different way.
I mean, yeah, talk about the pressure on that because it is a delicate piece of IP. Mm-hmm. It is a beloved show that everyone, certainly everyone I know has memories of it and usually fond memories, right? Yeah. It's a show that even though I'm from a white family in London, our whole family watched it over dinner. Yeah. It was not at any point a niche show. It was the show you watched.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so was there ever any fear of like, what if this doesn't work in the same way? Or not necessarily in the same way, but did you feel a pressure to deliver that you haven't felt on other jobs?
You know what? When I got the job, when I got the yes to play Jeffrey, I had a slight sort of feeling of the pressure, I think. But then when I read the script, it all fell away because I realized a lot of people don't read the fine details anymore. Pardon me, they see a deadline on Instagram or X and then they think, oh, why are they doing Fresh Prince of Bel Air again? Why are they doing that comedy? Leave it alone. When I read the script, it was not a comedy. It was a drama, It was almost like what the comedy could only do in moments, we could do for a full hour. So then I realized, people are going to be so surprised by what we're doing. Morgan Cooper, he wrote created that whole idea and wrote the first episode. And it was so gritty, but so in line with the original. The stakes were higher. Before we're used to the song, I got in a fight on the basketball court and then I had to move to Bel Air and we used that in the opening credits. Whereas this, we could show it, but we showed it because you have a fight with someone from the ends of Philadelphia, from the neighborhood, and there's a gun involved, suddenly your life's in danger. So again, it's the same story, but the stakes are higher. Now he has to get out of Philadelphia and go to Bel Air. And then not only that, Uncle Phil has implicated himself because he's helped him out. Do you know what I mean? And then you just go, oh, that's a fascinating idea. It's great. So once I read that it was a drama, I didn't have any fear, worry. I actually had excitement that we could all do our own thing with these iconic characters and this iconic show with the blessing of Will Smith and all the cast.
That's like me. It's been super fascinating seeing the journey. And now like in season 3, it's looking like it might end up going in the same way the other and just keep continuing, right? And evolving the storyline.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely, the audiences love it. I think that's one thing I do love about social media. People have all got opinion and they're very honest. And at first, everyone was like, why are you doing this with the Fresh Prince? Leave it alone. I'm not watching it. After about 2 episodes of season 1, everybody online was like, all right, I'm sorry. Don't sleep on Bel Air. Everybody needs to tune in. And there was this wave of love and support because people like realized that the show was made with love and respect of the original. The DNA, there's so many Easter egg moments in that show and every episode. It's not just about bringing the old OG cast in, but there's little moments with like the dice in Jazzy Jeff's car. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's little moments where like basically Uncle Phil's telling Aunt Viv how beautiful she is. And if you check the original, there's that moment. There's the moment when Will's dad comes in to see him and we're doing all these different things. Even Frederick, my son, Jeffrey's son in the original turns up in the original Fresh Prince of Bel Air. And so we're just honoring what's been done, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And I like to, instead of a remake, we like to say it's a retelling.
Reimagination.
Yeah.
But in a macro sense, what you just described there generally is with lots of things that become successful. You have the haters or the naysayers right at the start.
Yeah.
And then once it becomes a success, they're on your train. I mean, even I know with our business, when we started this company out with We Audition, I had so many people like, that's not going to work. Why would anyone
Is this
need
a
that?
scam? We used to have it every day. We used to have emails. Is this a scam or this is what? All the time, didn't we? All the time.
How did you guys?
No one understood it.
How did you guys counteract that negativity
Keep
to
going.
We Audition? You know, did you take it personally? How did you just ignored it?
For me, like
We
there'd
doubled
be
down
times
on
when
non-scam, didn't we?
if I was in person with somebody, I would sort of fight my corner a little bit and try and explain. You try and bring them around to your way of thinking.
Yeah.
But after a while, if it was with the same people that were saying that, and by the way, some of those people now are our biggest champions because that's usually what happens.
That's exactly.
Now, I've been through that rodeo before. My last company, I remember when I started it, I had a phone call on the first day with one woman literally yelling at me, being like, you don't know what you're doing. This is not how the industry works. And ended up being our biggest champion a few years later.
I'll tell you what really helped, actually. That originally we were a free system. So people could, we were going to get fund. Well, we had some initial funding and we put together a system where people could read with each other and pay each other. So the question was always, how do you get paid? How does this system make money? It must be a scam. And we actually moved quite quickly when we ran out of that seed money initially to a paid model, didn't we?
Yeah.
And actually that solved a lot of those problems because people thought, oh, yeah, I know why you're doing it. You're getting paid by my subscription fee. Therefore, I can make as much money as I like from other people. Okay, I'm in.
Wow.
So that actually solved a lot of problems accidentally.
Well, that changed the perception from customers, didn't it? And the other thing I will say on that is when somebody pays for something, they usually use it and respect it more. Actually, we don't value what we pay for. But just in terms of, I think, getting back to the acting side of it as well, when you're doing the journey up, it's easy for people to say, I don't think that will work. Whether you're producing your own film or you've got an idea. But then once that becomes successful, you find people jump on that success.
Yeah.
Either they want to align themselves with that success or they finally see what it is that you were seeing all along. And I think as a creative or as an entrepreneur, and I know you're both as well, both creative and entrepreneur, those things, just jumping into some of the other things you've done, You've had a production company, Triforce, which has gone through different iterations of helping actors out to now being a fully fledged production company that produces things. Mm-hmm. You've had your monologue slam competition. You do all these different endeavors and they all take time. But then once they're successful, everybody knows about them and jumps on, right?
You're right. I tell you one, I'm not just saying this, because you're here. When I first came to the US, everybody like my brother, this guy, Darren Darnborough, really helped me settle and set up. He taught me actually that you have to go against the naysayers, the people like, it doesn't work like that. You don't do it like that. Even though I was thinking like that in the UK, but you come to LA, you get told, Jimmy, nobody comes to your events. You can't get access to big venues. And Darren taught me how to book out the Chinese theater. It was about his connections, his access, but also him opening up my eyes and not thinking small. I was going to get a 60-seater space to do monologue slam. I ended up booking out the Chinese theater because of Darren's help and his guidance. Even sending an email to try and get this venue and going, I don't want to pay you, but I'll give you a percentage of the box office and stuff like that. And so I really want to say thank you, Darren, and also thank you, Rich, just in terms of how you guys have supported me in my early days here and also how aligned we are in terms of, as you said, Dow, Triforce Creative Network is a similar version of We Audition that we started out being a community to help actors, writers, filmmakers in front of the camera, behind the camera. And all our events was about creating platforms for people to be seen and get opportunities like We Audition is doing, connecting actors, but also connecting actors with managers, agents, producers, connecting communities across the world. And I do remember just seeing that alignment in our visions, but also having meetings with casting directors, trying to get them and agents and managers to be on the panels of my monologue time. And some of them, because I couldn't pay them, they were like, why are you doing this? You're not making money. I was like, it's not about making money. It's about being service. But like, Jimmy, you've got your own career. I was like, I know I've got my own career and I'm going to concentrate on that, but I want to give back. I want to open the door for the next generation. And what I love is that after 1 year of being in LA with Darren's help and your support as well, Rich, we launched Monologue Slam LA. And then we did it consecutively for 4 years. And each year, actors got signed and they got representation.
Bigger and better.
Yeah. And we were Derek A. King, who I know you know, he got signed. He's still working at the moment. We had support from people like Oliver Stark, that's on 911, and, we really had that nice mixture of like people coming up, but also being supported by people that are on shows, in film and on stage going like, actors, this is scary what you're doing, monologues in front of the industry, but we back you, we support you, and you're one yes away from being on jobs that we're like. And so I just want to talk about that side because that is the entrepreneurial, my producing side, and that is about, I think, being of service to people. And that actually, I think a lot of actors sometimes I think miss that trick. So it's not, the being of service of people is about me and my best friend Fraser Ayres and his wife Minnie Ayres. We co-founded Triforce Creative Network. We set up doing events like you guys do, right? And so what happens as an actor, like you fully fall in love with this idea. Everyone's saying, I don't know, you become disruptors. So everyone's saying, what are you doing? That's not the way to do it. You ignore it and you have small successes and they become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But what happens, like you guys don't have to do that, anyone that's listening, but if you do find that other thing, that's a version of We Audition or Triforce Creative Network, it can be whatever, it's about being creative and building, then it takes the edge off of the phone not ringing, or the phone ringing, but you didn't get those auditions that month. You've got something else to distract you, to give you growth, to collaborate with other actors and creatives.
Funnel your energy into.
Find your energy, yeah. Because if you're just waiting for that phone to ring, trust me, your mental health's going to suffer. And it took me, like Fraser, building out Triforce Creative Network to learn that. I would be learning 8 pages of dialogue, and at the same time, Darren's like, Jim, you've got your event like in 5 days' time. Have you got all your judges yet? I'm like, no. And I'm juggling the both things, but they would feed each other. Yeah. And then the other thing is, guys, it would come from an authentic place, but I just want to use these examples. I'm able to speak to managers and agents. I've already got a manager and agent, but I'm developing relationships. I'm meeting casting directors like We Audition does. And I'm not asking them for a job. I'm giving them an opportunity to discover new talent. So you're building your community within the industry with managers, producers, directors, casting directors, and they feel more at ease with you because you're not asking them for anything.
If you'd like to join the We Audition community, go to weaudition.com/show to get 25% off. Now back to the show.
I want to ask you about something there, though. Is there a possibility at any point that you felt where those people see you in a different light versus seeing you as the actor that you are? Or is it only because you're a successful quantity? Because sometimes I think people think, well, I know all these people, but now they see me as the business person, or now they see me as the creative person. People ask me that all the time. Do you get seen as the... Well, there's two actual sides of it. Some people think that being one half of We Audition gets me more jobs. Yeah. Which I actually don't think it does. The other side is, do they see you as not an actor anymore? And I've had that as well. I didn't think you were acting still. How have you navigated that?
That's a really good question. I think I've been very fortunate that I've constantly worked as an actor. So I think that I've been able to balance it both, you know what I mean? Because what I would normally do, if I'm on the BBC show, I would go into the casting room and I'd just ask them, would you be a judge?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm already being employed by the channel. They know my work. They like my work, and so they know me as an actor. But then I'm introducing them to my business side, my entrepreneurship side. You know, and so I think if I wasn't acting as much, then maybe it would have been harder to keep the balance of showing them my two hats. But I think I've been fortunate enough to realize that my role within my company, of our company, is that I continue to work and bring relationships to the company, you know? And I think that never hindered how they saw me. What did happen actually is my PR said it's muddying the waters. So online, you might look at me and go, well, what does he do? Does he do events? Is he a host? Is he this? Is he a stand-up comedian? What? And so I had a great conversation with my publicist, Alexa, about let's be much more intentional about who we are and what we do in terms of what we share and how we share it.
Is this recently?
This was over the last 4 years. Yeah. Because I was doing so many different things. And online, it was looking very busy, you know?
And you're not talking about just on your own social media. You're talking about what other people write about you as well.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? Do you have to say no to things, or do you just craft a different message?
I think you craft a different message, and I think you do condense it. You don't spread yourself so wide and thin. So it's like I sort of go Jimmy the actor, Jimmy the producer, and Triforce Creative Network. Right. Whereas I used to be like Jimmy the actor, Jimmy, I'm just doing loads of random events just because I'm having fun, right? And it's like, cool, you can have fun, but actually, what does fun look like when we are trying to be intentional and make it clear about who you are and what you do? Because that also helps, I think, if someone's considering to work with you as an actor or a producer or align with your company, they know who they're coming to. But if it's a bit like too busy, it can be a bit like, I'm not quite sure what it is, you know, and I think it can affect things going forward. So I suppose the answer to your question, I've been able to balance both because I think my acting, whether I've been doing theater, TV or film, has always been my leading point into building relationships and bring them to my company, you know, where I'm on stage.
I think I can probably give a bit of insight or a bit of help to people who maybe are listening and they have diversified themselves maybe too much online, because you can go on, essentially Google yourself, and you can go onto links and you can actually take them off Google now. You have the right to remove something on that search if you want to, or remove pages. The right to be forgotten is kind of one of the terms that people use. So if someone is worried that their persona online is incorrect of what they do now, it doesn't need a PR company or an expensive relationship to just go through those links and remove some. And there's things like Wikipedia, which you could, if you wanted, update yourself or get someone to update for you. And there's websites and links that you can take down from Google. And there's also your own social media where you could remove old posts. So we do have a little bit of control as individuals. It's not all, it's not all there forever.
Are you talking about removing the search entries, Rich, though, not the actual, because if an article's out there on someone's website.
Yes. Good clarification. Yes, you can't, I couldn't remove someone else's page, but yes, you could remove that listing from Google if it said something detrimental about you, or maybe it was an article that referenced you in a completely different job that is completely opposite of what you do now, and you didn't want anyone to see it. There's two ways of doing it: is delisting it or requesting a delisting from Google, or promote that term with other articles. So find other articles that you do like that term might rank, and an SEO company could help you with that. I'm not one of those. I don't know how that works, but people do that. They promote other content for that term over the top of that. So it goes down and no one looks at page 5, 6, 7 of Google. So it doesn't matter anymore. Everyone's looking at the first few terms. But going forward, just looking forward to the future, I don't think search and something like Google is going to be the future anyway. We're going to move to different ways of communicating with AIs and other things. So people shouldn't worry about anything on a search engine or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, this topic is interesting as well, though, because you've worked as an actor so frequently. I feel like you're always on a job. I remember actually meeting Jimmy, or you're doing a short film, and I remember getting a call from the director being like, it has to be this day because your co-star is coming off one job. He has one day and then he's going on another job. And that's still the guy that I know today. Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't that happen with Bel Air? What happened with Bel Air? Were you doing another show?
I just finished The Tower, which is on ITV and BritBox in the US. If you want to watch it, it might be on Amazon as well. And so, like Darren, that's very kind, but I have had large amounts of time out of work. The longest I've not worked is a year. But I also have been able to be fairly consistent. And when I say consistent, when Darren met me, I'd just done a play called Blue Orange, and that was a game changer for me in my career. It was a play with Kathy Burke. I won a TMA award for Best Supporting Actor in it. Chiwetel Ejiofor, he did the original play with Bill Nye and Andrew Lincoln. So they're big names.
Wow, see, all those names are massive now.
Yeah. So I did the next version after that. And so I did that play, and then there was a window to do the short film, The Car with Darren. And then I think I was off to do, an episode of Hobo City and then do another like indie movie. And so I was very lucky within that. And so I have worked consistently, but there's been definitely big gaps. And the big gaps, though, I was able to fill those up with the work with our company, Triforce Creative Network. But I think back to there's a couple of things that happened now, Richard. I think with doing events, we started out, our company's Triforce Creative Network started out doing events. And I think that's where my entrepreneurial and my producer sort of spirit and hats came from. You know, like bringing people together. What's the meaning for bringing people together? How do we get the venue? How do we elevate the guests? Do you know what I mean? How do we keep it inclusive? So we've got, you know, the agents, the casting directors, the up and coming actors, the established, like we sort of, me and Fraser, we naturally did that, but like not knowing what we were doing. And then we grew into it. We're like, oh my God, someone told me, goes, no, you guys are producers. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you guys have actually created your community before you created your company. So we did things as friends in a backwards way. And then we grew into those next stages. And I think for me, Fraser and Minnie, my business partners, they're very good at like doing like the decks, like Fraser writes scripts, Minnie's across the production, takes care of all finances. Like, that's not my world. You know what I mean? So it did take me a while to be like, all right, well, what value do I bring to our company? And I will say this, that I would do any piece of PR or any job when I'm on set, I'm on stage, I would lead with Triforce Creative Network. I would never be like, oh, I just worked with Ian McKellen on stage, or I just worked with Dustin Hoffman on a film. I would lead with, you know what, I've got this great company. We're all about inclusivity and creating opportunities for people. So I would lead with that first.
Was that deliberate, or is that natural humility?
It was deliberate. It was deliberate because I really...
You're proud of it,
I was really proud of it.
That's what you're
It's
proud
really
of.
proud of it,
Why weren't you so proud of working with Ian McKellen though? Like,
because it was my brother... I've got my older brother's a singer-songwriter called Shola Akingbola, and he's part of the Jamiroquai group, but he's a singer in his own right. He's always been very humble of like you don't have to shout from the houses, right? About what you do. Let your work speak for yourself, right? So I adopted that and goes in a way of like, in those moments, if I'm already working, I'm on a job, or I know I've got a job, I don't need to lead with, hey, do you know who I am? I can lead with the stuff that I'm doing is of service. And I think that would help conversations.
It's more interesting as well. I mean, a lot of actors, when they first meet you, they straight away, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And you just get exhausted by it as another person in that conversation.
Yeah.
They just like rattle off their resume.
Yeah. Listen, let me give you an example. Everybody, again, I want to give Richard and Darren their flowers while they're here and they can hear it, right?
We prefer residuals, but flowers are cool.
The residuals are coming. But no, this is I like to use sort of stories just to explain my point, because sometimes I might ramble and not make sense.
Oh no,
so
totally on point.
Darren and Richard took me I never wanted to go to Cannes Film Festival ever, guys, unless I've got a film there and I'm a lead, right? Darren and Richard are like, Jimmy, I don't know if I feel that's a bit of a narrow-minded way of thinking. we go, we make connections, we get jobs sometimes, and it's inspiring. You meet other creatives. Just come. We're doing this thing about acknowledging like the next batch of talent that are doing good things and that are part of our community of We Audition. Just come to Cannes. I'm like, all right, I'll come, and thank you. I'm very honored to come. I go there and it's a random night. I'm on my own. I think I'd lost you guys. And I'm in this area in Cannes where all the filmmakers and producers just hang out and have drinks. And before that, I bump into this woman that I know that used to work at Netflix. She's like, come and meet me for a drink. I meet her for a drink. We're just catching up. And then she's like, you should meet James. I meet James Axiotis. I think that's how I say his name. Sorry, James. And James is like, yeah, who are you? Like, she said that we should talk. And I just started talking about Triforce Creative Network and about my documentary that I'd made recently with our company, Handle with Care, about a foster kid going from foster care to Hollywood. And we're talking and his eye starts moistening up. And he's like, that's amazing. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, I had a similar experience. I was adopted. All right. And I was like, oh, right. So we just have this conversation. He doesn't know, like, even though I said to Hollywood, he doesn't know anything about my acting career. All right. And then we just leave this conversation. We exchange numbers, as you do. Yeah, let's exchange. We might stay in touch. He's like, I can do loads of things for you. I'm a part of BAFTA, this. I'm like, I'm a part of BAFTA. Whatever. We've had a good moment. You don't have to say things that's not going to happen. The next day, James calls me. He's like, Jimmy, I've spoken to BAFTA in London. I've secured the venue for you. I want to support what you're doing. I want to pay for the screening of your documentary.
Wow.
I was like, what? I was like, wait, we've not edited it yet. It's still being edited. You know what I mean? He's like, I've got it for next week. And I was like, no, I can't do next week, but I can do later in the summer. He's like, no problem, let me know. And then I kept emailing, I've booked the venue. Now they want the money. He paid for it, guys. And
that's amazing.
And it's amazing. And I have to thank James, Axiotis for this, because it was amazing. But it shows you. I haven't finished the story. The last bit of that story, we meet up again in LA, and he's like, why did you not tell me you're an actor and that you're on Bel Air and then you've done all this stuff in London with like Olivia Colman and you're like, you're a working actor. I was like, because the thing that I love that stuff, but the thing that's most important to me then was my production company and my organization, our organization, Triforce Creative Network, and the documentary. And he goes, do you know what? The reason why I did call you is because you didn't do that. Most actors, when they speak to a producer, they're like, they're pitching themselves.
Give me a job.
And the only reason I found out who you were is because my daughters were like, Dad, you don't know who you were speaking to that night. And I used that sort of jumbled story just about one, hearing Richard and Darren talk about a different way of thinking about going to a film festival, because some people would agree. Some publicists say, don't go to any film festival or red carpet unless it's your own thing. But I went to Cannes and I had an amazing time with We Audition at the White House and met so many amazing people. And also off the back of that, I met a producer that helped me screen my personal life documentary at BAFTA. And without that, I wouldn't have done it because we didn't have the budget for it. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to share that story because I think there's many layers to that. So thank you.
I'm so happy that you had that experience and like that. And thank you for being part of that. And actually, just to piggyback on one comment you said, a lot of PR people say don't go to Cannes until you've had a film there, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that their advice is wrong and a good PR person knows what they're doing, but also beware, because there's a lot of people out there that are PR people or other advisors that simply haven't been and they don't understand a different market, but because you're paying them lots of money, you just trust them. And one person comes to mind. We had an actress come with us, I think the year before you came.
Yeah.
That was in a Cannes film, massive film in Top Gun Maverick. It was the gala premiere and was told by her PR not to go because the production company weren't flying her out and they weren't putting her up and all these myths. And she wasn't a huge character in it, and she also wasn't a small character in it.
Yeah.
What happened is the first day of her getting to Cannes, she bumped into the showrunner of a show that she'd done one episode in.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out for dinner with her the next night, and surprise, I'm going to cut a long story short, but when she got back, she was suddenly a recurring guest star in that show.
I love them.
I can't be sure that's what it was, but I'm sure it didn't hurt for him to see her in that light. And number two, the second thing was the PR not understanding how Cannes works. She did go to the premiere. She did do the red carpet, and she was in about 30 magazines, including Grazia, next to Viola Davis,
on the red carpet,
amplified her.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. This is the interesting thing: is even if you're in a massive film, sometimes unless you're the star or the star that they want to promote, more to the point, the production company aren't paying for you. They're not sending you there. We have another friend that was on the poster of a massive movie. Literally, he's one of the posters, and he wasn't taken there.
Yeah.
Because they were focusing on the main star and actually the female co-star.
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to go on, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to make your own luck, as I call it.
I do. And again, I think that's where I feel like me and Richard, we're very similar. Like, you know, you got to think out the box some ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's like, it's being disruptors for the industry and changing the game. But I think there's been a disruptor for yourself individually in terms of like, all right, everyone's saying you should do things in a straight line, but going, really? What if I went round it this way? And let me see. If it's wrong, then I'm wrong. But if it's successful, then let me not dismiss that. And I think these stories that we both shared shows you that, you know, like the industry is completely changing every day. And there are other ways to be successful, to make things happen, to get work, to meet other artists and collaborate with them. Again, I'm not just doing this because I'm on here, but when I first came to the US, the first time I went to Sundance was with you, Dal. And that was before you had We Audition. Yeah. You were just like, look, I do these great dinners with Chef Dance. You should come. And I remember meeting the guy from The Matrix. I lost my mind. Who played the villain. What's his name? You know, Mr. Anderson. Gosh, Dal, we met. Mr. Smith. We met Mr. Smith. Yeah. And and it was great. I'm like, I've been in LA for a few months, and then I'm in Sundance. I'm meeting Mr. Smith. I can't believe I forgot his name. And then we're having a conversation, not about, at first I gave him his flowers about acting, but then he's telling me how much he spent in Nigeria. Right. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. So I've seen them a couple of times before, and it's like, we've got that connection.
It's a relationship business, right?
Yeah. And also I think sometimes...
Hugo Weaving.
Yes, Hugo Weaving. Yes. Thank you so much, Hugo Weaving. How you doing, Hugo? And I think sometimes it's about, you know, a friend of mine, Carla Fry, she's got this saying, be the change you... Is it be the change you want to see? See the change you want to be? I've messed it up.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah. And I think there's something in that when you meet like people like Hugo Weaving, or you're in those spaces, Sundance, Cannes, LA, London, like there's something about being around it that can inspire you. Yes, it can go the other way. I'm like, oh, everyone's doing something. I'm not. But I think there is a way of looking at it and just like channeling into the energy. It's a bit like what you guys with when you do your We Audition sort of get-togethers. Like everybody is building and being creative, and like some people are, oh, it's too much. Or you can lean into that and be like, this is inspiring. This is inspiring, and actually, this is inspiring that this community is growing. When I'm saying community, I talk about the We Audition community, and during a time where it's hard right now, guys. It's hard that the industry is on its backside. In the UK, in the US, like things are not back to normal. You're right. Was it 2023? Is everyone's like, hold your breath until 2024. It's going to be okay. You get to 2024 and then everyone's like, all right, hold your breath to 2025. And look, I say that I'm very grateful. I'm on a show, and but I'm also not on that show all the year round. I can see the lack of auditions. I can see a lot of my friends and peers that are out of work. I can see a lot of my friends that had season 2 shows and that got cancelled. I spoke to a PR friend. He was like, I had 5 clients, all had season 2 shows that were picked up in 2023. And in between then and now, they all got cancelled. you know? We're hearing about agencies, big agencies, I'm not going to name them, having to take loans to help them pay their bills because they've got these big offices. You know what I'm saying? And getting rid of agents and clients, you know? Like people from big, like, procedurals being dropped from top agents.
Yeah, I've had several friends drop from a big agency. And equally, I've had other friends stating they want to join a big agency with not many credits. And you know, that sort of level of delusion there is when there's an agency dropping a big client.
Yeah.
You have to sort of be realistic in the industry as well when you want to go forward, I think, as well.
Also, we have heard from casting directors, haven't we, that a lot of people that would in the past, in the traditional sense, be a series regular, they're just being recurring now. And I think a lot of the TV shows are, you know, very wary of how many shows they make, and their contracts are slightly changing, and their money's being handed out in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's changing.
Yeah.
People are being more savvy, and the streaming platforms aren't necessarily network television. They've not got those same rules to adhere to, have they?
Exactly. And then the budgets are being cut. So like how things are being rolled out, or if you have a pitch, if you're pitching a show for an idea and budget's being cut, how does that affect your idea? And, you know, and if suddenly they just want guaranteed procedurals and you got a half-hour comedy, like what do you do with that? I would like to talk about Morgan Cooper, because I spoke to him recently and I find him very inspiring. Morgan Cooper did a trailer. He spent $25,000 of his own money to create a trailer of Bel Air, right? And he was already a filmmaker, done many short films and music videos and commercials. But he did that trailer and the idea came to him. There was a lot of risk, right? It wasn't his IP. He could have got in trouble. You know, he shut out the noise and he just uploaded it. You're right, online. And then it went viral. I'm not saying everybody's piece of work that would happen from them, but let's go to the heart of what he did. He did the work. He created something off of, you know, he had an idea. He put his own money into it. A lot of people saying, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that. And look what happened. If anybody that's listening, if you go online YouTube now and watch that trailer, it looks like a TV show.
Yeah.
And Will Smith saw that, didn't he?
And Will Smith saw that.
And I remember Morgan saying to me that I think Will Smith flew him out to Florida the next day, was it? Or 2 days later?
Well, actually, Will Smith called him, I think, a day later. Or at the end of the day, in 24 hours, it went viral. He heard from Will saying that there's interest, but Morgan flew to LA.
That was right.
Not knowing if it was going to happen or not. And then after, I think, a day he landed, he got a call from his manager, goes, listen, we need to get you to LA. Will wants to see you at his house. He was like,
I'm already here.
I'm already in LA.
And what's Will's famous phrase? Be ready so you don't need to get ready.
You know, look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
So Morgan was taking, you know, what's really nice about that whole Bel Air story as well. I found it personally really fun that not only is Adrian Holmes, his last name is Holmes, like your Holmes to Bel Air.
Yep.
But what's the other one is Jabari Banks.
Yep.
That's his real name?
Yep, Jabari Banks. And it's so interesting. Jabari was a fan of Fresh Prince as a kid. And so I think at school or college, they would have like a Fresh Prince day and everybody would dress up as the characters. And obviously, when he showed you his picture, each time it would happen, he'd be dressed as the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
And then his manager was his teacher there, was retired from being a teacher, became a manager. But he said he saw then that Jabari should be an actor. And then Bel Air got the auditions came in and then the rest is history. You know what I mean? You can't write it but this is Jabari's first TV job, you know, as it was for Will Smith. Jabari makes music like Will Smith. Jabari plays basketball like, you know, like it's beautiful. And he's that. Some people say he looks like Will, but I feel like he has certain Will Smith qualities because he's been a fan of Will. Like, you know what I mean? It's like someone watching someone like Eddie Murphy or Robert De Niro growing up. Like, you know, some actors you could tell who their influences were because they're doing some of their mannerisms. And I think Jabari really harnesses the spirit of Will Smith. And but I think everybody's been cast really well. I think the casting department did great work.
Awesome. Well, and talking about being younger, just to wrap this up, if you could go back to little Jimmy at the start of Jimmy's career and give young Jimmy some advice or somewhere where you could do better or went wrong, what would that advice be to young Jimmy?
I'll say to young Jimmy, even though the whole cast is saying you're going to get another season of a TV show, don't buy that car or that new kitchen, until you've signed the contract. So what happened to me, everyone was like, you're going to get a third season of Holby Blue. I was like, great. And I bought a car and a new kitchen. And then 2 days later, my agent said it's not happening. And then I was in debt for like 3-4 years, like big debt. The most debt I'd ever been in because I started using credit cards. So so that leads into the other part of what I would tell you, young Jimmy. I'd tell him to really use my older sister. She's an accountant. Like really be aware of how I use my money in terms of like putting away money for tax, for rainy day, for creating all those different sort of folders, because I think it's show, the word is show, and the bigger word is business. And I think in drama schools and I think coming up in acting, we don't get taught enough about the business.
Not at all.
Yeah. And it can really trip you up. Taxes, even if you're going to work internationally, if a US person in UK or a UK person in the US, it's like tax, 50% is gone straight. Once you add up commission and tax, it's brutal. So I would tell myself that. And I think I would tell...
I mean, you've already given us a good one, which is look after the bills, look after the money. Because a lot of people fall down on that. I mean, this business is a roller coaster. One of the things I feel like I've learned the longer I do it is your income in this business is not consistent over a period of weeks and months.
Yeah.
But it can be over a period of years. And so when you look at the macro side of that, you go, okay, it goes up and to the right over time. And you'll have these peaks and your troughs and the ups and the downs. And so one thing is planning and being careful when you are in a good moment. So that you can get through those droughts. But the other thing I think in the terms of a positivity sense, I think make sure you remember all the good things about being an actor. You said earlier about playing with the characters and enjoying that fun. And equally in life, having those fun moments, can you go down to the beach if you live in LA on a random Wednesday? Yeah, of course you can because you're an actor. So when the time is tough, when those jobs are rough, remember, but I can go to the beach on a Wednesday. You know what? I didn't miss that friend's wedding. I was able to go because I didn't have to ask for time off. I already had time off. And that's what tends to get me through those harder times is I'm like, well, this life affords me such beauty and flexibility,
I love that, Dale. I think I just want to add on to that actually, just in terms of, because we can always talk, Rich, about all the, your work and all that success, but I like to talk about the things that are very important to me that normally connected to the tough moments. So what I'll tell my young self, if I had a chance, I was going to do it again, is that don't watch anybody else's success. Stay in your own lane, right? I feel like every actor's journey is a marathon, and just do you. Like no one else can do what you do. The more you're your authentic self when you audition and with your creativity, the more you will work. When you trying to be other people or you're trying to achieve something in a I feel like with negative or competitive energy, that's where you can trip yourself up. I think it's really important to stay your authentic self, and I say that because I lost myself a bit at times in my career of like, because I started being like, well, he's acting like that, or he's muscly, or he's got dreads, or he has no facial hair, or he acts in this way, and it's like, no, just keep doing what you do. Yes, you gotta train and get better, but at the end of the day, you do you, I can't do you, you can't do me. And the more you tap into that and you combine that with being creative and applying that to your work, the more I think you will be successful. And I think the other thing I was going to say, there was one other good one.
No, but this chat's been amazing. And we've learned so much and also got so many little like nuggets for people to that'll inspire people and I think help them feel good about their own careers or just give them some vision for the future.
Yeah, because that's always important to me. And I've just remembered where it was. The other thing was just touching on, you sort of said it, is that we can sit around waiting for the phone to ring, or we can sit around waiting for that email, or we cannot do things because what if? Go and live that life. Take holidays when you can. You know what I mean? Go to friends' weddings, birthdays. Find out what makes you happy and what brings you fun outside of acting. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that helps inform the characters as well, because we play living human beings, right?
Yes.
I always say that. Got to have real experiences, right?
Yeah. That's an important one, because we can be so on it. I'm on it. I'm doing all the work, but it's like, but you still need to live. You still need to what makes you laugh? What do you enjoy? Just keep an eye on that, because it's so hard and so competitive that everyone's like, I'm on it, Jimmy. I'm doubling down. I'm doing the work. And I'm like, great. But when was the last time you had some fun that was outside of acting? Or when was the last time that you treated yourself, or you laughed with your friends or family, or you just went for a walk, or you read a book? Like, there's so many things that are very important to helping us be actors, you know?
And I think once you get to a certain point in the work as well, it's not like you can always be doing more to change the game. There's an amount of stuff that you can be doing, and that's a comfortable amount of stuff.
Yeah.
And these tiny, you can always read another book. You can always go to another class. Is that going to change the game sufficiently, or will being a good human, will helping other people, like you said, with your other endeavors, does that contribute more? Actually?
Definitely. And look, and I know we are wrapping up, but again, just piggybacking off of that, your community, like our friendship, me, you and Richard, like finding your tribe, like-minded people that roll up their sleeves. They're about the work. They're about collaborating. They're about offering service and helping people. That's really important. Seriously, it's really important, because when you are having your low points, you can lift up each other, or someone can help you and connect you with somebody. And also, I think it's just as important with your agents and your managers. You know what I mean? In terms of like having someone that understands your vision and is able to support it in the right way. If you're just an actor, then great, but if you are doing other things, or if you're an actor that's got a particular vision for your career, it is important to make sure you can talk to your agent and a manager in the right way. Do you know what I mean? That it's not adopting. I think a lot of actors, it's like the agents and managers become the parents. You can be 50-year-old person, and not that I'm 50, I'm 21, but they treat you like there's like a adult kid dynamic. It's like, I can't tell my agent that I'm not happy, or I want them to do this. Yes, you can. They work for you. You're a team. Like, have adult conversations with them. And if you're not happy about something, or if you need more help, then have that conversation.
Right. Well, this has been a great conversation, Jim. We've got to wrap it up.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in and for having this moment.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you so much.
I hope that everyone out there gets a lot of value from this episode. I think they will.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the We Audition show. Your hosts were Darren Darnborough and me, Richard Cambridge, from We Audition, the leading professional actors community where you can connect, learn, elevate your career, and always get a self-tape reader on demand. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're a We Audition member, or even if you're not, we would love it if you could please subscribe to this podcast, as it really helps us. And if you have friends who might get value from this episode, please share the link with them. You can find us at weaudition.com, or for your iPhone or iPad by searching We Audition on the App Store. See you next time.